Hello everyone, this is Katerina. Thank you for joining me today. I have for you another Valentine's Day card. This is my third Valentine's Day card actually. For the first one I only have a blog post and I still have I think 3 to go, but I will have probably only blog posts for those. So make sure you check out my website to see those cards or follow me on Instagram, Facebook or Pinterest. I started a little bit late with Valentine's Day cards, but you can give many of those cards also for Mother's Day or even for birthday. It depends on the sentiment that is on the card. Anyways, in this video I will be making a super simple shaker card, and these are the supplies I will be using. I have this die from Lil Inca Designs, perfect for shaker cards. It gets the word "love you so much" in a square and it embosses a dash line around the square. I didn't want the card to be all white, so I decided to use a stencil with hearts from MFT together with distress inks to bring a little bit more color to the front of the card. Stamping a background or watercoloring would be an option for this card. For the shaker element, I will be using some beads. They are smaller than sequins, which means I don't need to add 2 layers of a foam tape. Also, confetti mix is perfect for a shaker card if you don't want it to be too bulky. I die cut the sentiment first. I place the die right in the middle of a white cardstock that I cut down to fit the A6 size card. I secured it using a micropore tape and run it through the Sizzix die cutting machine. This time I couldn't do it on a camera since it's the main part of the card and I didn't have any mess on my desk. I removed the die and poked out the leftover bits. The tool I was using I got in a local store. If you are looking for one, I think Rayher and Spellbinders make those and you can get those on Amazon. If I find them, I will put them in my supply list. Next I place the panel on a laminated cardstock. I usually use it when I'm ink blending. It just makes the application for me easier. It just glides better onto the cardstock. Because I didn't want the hearts on the stencil to cover the sentiment, I used a post-it note to cover it. I already had one note that I used for my first card, so I reused it. And because it's sticky, it also helped to hold the panel in place. Then I placed the stencil over the panel. I secured it with a washi tape so it doesn't move. The distress inks I used are the Wilted Violet and Worn Lipstick. Very nice purple and pink colors. And I used the blending tool from Rayher to apply the inks across the stencil. The Wilted Violet ink I used for the top part and the Worn Lipstick I used for the bottom part of the panel. I just made sure that the ink is applied correctly and each heart is covered. Since this is a 6 by 6 inch stencil, it will not cover the full front of an A6 card, which is actually quite important part to remember when you are buying stamps, dies or stencils from US companies in US measurements. Not all of them fit the standard international sizes that are in centimeters. But for this type of stencil it didn't matter. I could easily align the hearts and apply the ink on the bottom section, or you can cut out smaller rectangle and it would fit perfectly. You could leave the card as it is. I think it looks pretty, but I wanted to add a little bit of color to the die cut sentiment. But first I covered the top and the sides around the sentiment with a post-it tape so I don't get any ink on the stenciled hearts. And I started with the purple distress ink. I tried to be careful so I don't tear up the sentiment. Then I placed the post-it tape I had on top onto the bottom part. I could have covered the whole part, but I didn't want to waste the tape. And I blended the bottom of the sentiment with the pink distress ink, also making sure to blend the two colors together on the word "so." Next I started working on the shaker part. This is a super simple shaker card, as I said. This is nothing new. The trick to a simple shaker card is to make either a square or a rectangular window. If you have curves or too many small details, then it gets not really harder, but it's too fiddly to put a foam tape around it. Well, at least in my opinion, especially if you have to double up on the foam tape. Also using smaller shaker elements like beads or confetti mixes or smaller sequins helps as well, as you don't need to double up on the foam tape, which personally I don't really like. First, I adhere the acetate on the back of the panel. I didn't add any adhesive onto the die cut sentiment, I think it didn't need it. Then I attached the double-sided foam tape, making sure I have no gap so the beads stay inside of the shaker part. Next, I added the beads, just few from each color. I bought these beads in a local store. They are from a German company, I think. I believe it's called Rayher. Also, I need to put them into different containers, as those containers they come in, they are just pain to open. And also, the beads often end up everywhere else than where they're supposed to. Once I was happy with the amount of the beads I have in the shaker window, I covered it up with a piece of cardstock. Here I made a mistake. I only cut a piece of the cardstock to cover the shaker window, but I should have left it in the size of the whole panel, maybe slightly smaller. I realized this before adhering the panel onto the card base when I added the foam squares on top and the bottom. The foam squares have the same thickness as the foam tape that is around the shaker window. That meant with the added layer of an acetate and a piece of the cardstock on the back, the middle part was slightly higher than the foam squares. Luckily, I didn't throw away any of the pieces I cut off the back panel and adhered them onto the foam adhesive. Then I added a double-sided tape and attached the whole panel on top of a white card base. And this is the finished card. I really hope you liked it. As you can see, it was not too difficult to make it, even with my mistake. If you like this video, I would appreciate if you gave it thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Pinterest, or over on my blog. The links to those you can see in the description below this video, where you can also find the list of the supplies. Next few cards will be only on my blog. I might make video for one, but I'm not sure. But if you see on my blog a card and want me to make a video, let me know in the comments below. I don't have any concept for which card I make a video. I just make them randomly. But I will be more than happy to make a video for any card that doesn't have a video if I get a request. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!